When you talk about the most prolific serial killers, many people would guess Ted Bundy, John Wayne Gacy, or Gary Ridgway, the Green River Killer. While these might have been true at one point or another, in recent years a new person has risen to claim this awful and disturbing title, a man named Samuel Little. Today we're taking a closer look at the unfortunate life and legacy of America's most prolific serial killer and how a failed justice system cost the lives of over 90 women. In Reynolds, Georgia, on June 7, 1940, Samuel Little was born into an already broken home. His mother was a prostitute, and his father seemed to have no presence in his life, as it seems that Samuel's mother got pregnant from one of her clients. Now, with the extra weight and responsibility of a newborn baby, Samuel's mother made the smart decision to move both of them up to Lorain, Ohio, where they could live with his grandmother. While living there, Samuel's mother slowly but surely began to back out of the picture, and Samuel ended up being mostly raised by his grandmother. According to Samuel, he began having sexual fantasies about strangling women as young as kindergarten, when he saw his teacher touching her own neck. As he got older and moved on to attend Hawthorne Junior High, his disposition didn't improve. Not only did he struggle with grades and academic achievements, but Samuel was also constantly getting into trouble with administration. It was around this time that his obsession with choking women increased, and he began collecting any true crime magazines that featured any depiction of women being strangled. By 16, he began to travel around the country by himself and moved on from high school antics to committing real crimes. In 1956, he was charged and convicted with breaking and entering a property in Omaha, Nebraska, and was sent to a juvenile correctional institute. Sadly, this experience did nothing to dissuade him from a life of crime, and this would not be Samuel's last run-in with the law by a long shot. By just 25 years old, Samuel had already served 3 years in prison for breaking and entering into a furniture store in Lorain, Ohio, and that was going to be just the tip of the iceberg for his prison experience. In his late 20s, Samuel briefly moved back in with his mom down in Florida and took up some odd jobs, including an ambulance attendant and a worker at a cemetery. After this brief stint, he decided that traveling was the life for him, so he packed up, traveled the country, and continued to expand his ever-growing criminal record as he went. By this point, in his 20s, he had been arrested across 8 different states for a variety of crimes that included DUIs, fraud, solicitation, armed robbery, shoplifting, aggravated assault, and rape. By 1975, he would be arrested a total of 26 times across 11 states, continuing to commit crimes every time he was released from prison without hesitation or remorse. It's both infuriating and tragic to think if any of these arrests had led to long-term imprisonment or any actual reformation, that just under 100 women might have gotten to live out their lives. In 1892, Samuel Little was arrested and charged while in Mississippi for the murder of 26-year-old Melinda Lepre, who had been missing since September of that same year. However, a grand jury tragically decided not to indict him. However, Samuel wasn't free from the murder charges, as during the Lepre investigation, Samuel was extradited to Florida, where he was charged and tried for the murder of another woman, this time 26-year-old Patricia Mount, whose body had been found in September of 1982. Despite several witnesses placing Samuel as one of the last people to see Melinda alive before she disappeared, Samuel ended up being acquitted in January of 1984, adding to the list of failures from the justice system that let this man continue to kill. As if to taunt those that had acquitted him, later that exact same year, Samuel was arrested and charged for the kidnapping, assault, and strangulation of a 22-year-old woman named Lori Barros, who thankfully survived her run-in with Samuel. Then, a month after that, he was caught red-handed by police with another woman in the back of his car who appeared to have been kidnapped and assaulted, as well as being rendered unconscious due to strangulation. Not only this, but the car the woman was found in with Samuel was the exact same spot where it had been a month prior when Samuel was caught with Patricia. For these 2 counts of attempted murder, Samuel only served a shocking 2.5 years before being let back out into the general public. After being released in February of 1987, he immediately moved to Los Angeles, California. To nobody's surprise, Samuel kept up his track record of crime and murder and killed 10 women while he was there. But sadly, this was not the end of his killing spree, as he would continue to butcher innocent women all the way until 2005. On September 5th, 2012, when Samuel would have been a whopping 72 years old, police stormed a homeless shelter in Louisville, Kentucky, to arrest Samuel on narcotics charges. He was extradited to California to actually face the charges, and while there, police were able to use samples of his DNA to tie him to a variety of cold cases, including the murder of Guadalupe Duarte Aponica on September 3, 1987, Carol Eileen Elford on July 13, 1987, and Audrey Nelson Everett on August 14, 1989. All 3 of these women were found in Los Angeles around the time that Samuel was living and killing there. Samuel was then moved to Los Angeles, where he was charged in January of 2013 for their murders. After this, the police began to investigate Samuel for even more cases, and even the LaPree case, for which he had not been indicted, was reopened. On September 25, 2014, Samuel was found guilty for the murder of these women and was sentenced to life imprisonment with no chance for parole. Finally, Samuel Little would be off the streets for good, but was it too little too late? After giving this man the repeated opportunity to murder and assault dozens upon dozens of women before taking him to prison, can you really say that justice was served? Despite the evidence stacked against him, Samuel continued to proclaim his innocence, claiming that he was wrongfully convicted. However, that was soon about to change. After having confessed to the 1994 murder of Denise Christie Brothers in May of 2018 to a Texas Ranger, Samuel was convicted of the crime on December 13th of that same year and given another life sentence. It was after this that the floodgates opened. He then confessed to the strangulation and murder of Melissa Thomas in 1996. On November 13th of 2018, the Ector County, Texas District Attorney, as well as the Wise County, Texas Sheriff's Office, released a statement informing the public that Samuel had confessed to a multitude of murders and that it was likely he had committed more than 90 killings across 14 different states between the years of 1970 and 2005. During November of 2018, various district attorneys announced Samuel's confessions, which included the murder of Brenda Alexander in 1978, an unidentified woman in 1977, Fredonia Smith in 1982, Dorothy Richards in 1982, Daisy McGuire in 1996, Julia Critchfield in 1978, Nancy Carroll Stevens in 2005, Evelyn Weston in 1978, and Rosie Hill in 1982. The scariest part of this is that is not anywhere near a full list of his confessions and murders. It's simply what was announced in 1 month during 2018. By the end of November 2018, the FBI announced that of Samuel's many confessions, at least 34 had been actually confirmed. As the next year passed, Samuel continued to confess to more and more murders, and several counties began indicting and convicting Samuel for them. Samuel also began to draw portraits of the women that he had killed with considerable amounts of detail, given how long ago he saw most of these women, and one of these portraits was even good enough to identify a woman he had killed in Akron, Ohio. In a disturbing showcase of Samuel's recollection of and fondness for his memories of murder and crime, there are several videos on the internet that you can easily find where Samuel talks about the various women he killed and how he did it, and as he speaks, you can see him get visibly more excited and into the story, as he describes it and cracks jokes. Samuel continued to confess to murders as recently as November of 2020, where he confessed to murders in Florida, one of which, it turned out, another man had been wrongfully convicted for. On December 30th, 2020, Samuel Little died in an LA hospital. The cause of his death has yet to be confirmed, but by the time he died, he was wheelchair-bound with both diabetes and heart disease, so it's reasonable to assume those factors were involved. Samuel leaves behind a disturbing legacy as America's most prolific serial killer, and his case really highlights the flaws in our justice system. Would it have been better to simply lock him away from start with no hope of reformation, but saving the lives of over 90 women? Instead, should we rework our prisons to help reform criminals and save innocent lives without locking someone in a cell for the majority of their life? These are tough questions with no simple answers, but I would love to hear your thoughts down in the comment section below. While you're commenting, give us your thoughts on the case as well as any other cases you'd like us to cover on this channel. If you want to help us keep producing more videos like this one, then consider liking, subscribing, and hitting that notification bell, as well as checking out our other crime cases for more chilling tales like this one. Thank you for your support, and we'll see you in the next video.